Yo, what's going on, snipers, and welcome back to our Edmonton Oilers Throwback 2010 franchise mode here in NHL 25. So in last episode, if you did not catch it, we had the 2011 draft and re-sign stage, and we did make some pretty big trades, offloading guys like Alex Hemsky. We also offloaded Tom Gilbert. I think we offloaded some more players like that, but our roster going into next season is definitely going to be a lot weaker, but we are trusting the full youth movement and basically hopefully finding some good players in future drafts and all that. But our best player on our team right now is Patrick O'Sullivan, who might make us oversimulate a bit too much, so he could still be potential trade bait down the road. But we do have a good young Sam Gagner, who is up to an 86, which is awesome. Cogliano is an 85. Brule is an 82. Like, there's definitely a lot of good young talent on this team. Petrie, who's 23, so hopefully we can continue to build up this team into being a pretty damn good one. Also, we did pick up pieces like Carl Hagelin, for instance, in trades that should end up helping us, maybe end up getting into our lineup this season, which is quite exciting. So excited to see what this team's looking like going into next season, but obviously playoffs are probably not going to happen because we're going to likely be running like Petrie and Schmid, Chorney, Spiza. Falk's probably going to be sent back down to the AHL, which means we are probably going to sign some just lower-end defensemen to fill out our defensive core, but likely Falk will be back in the AHL again next year, unless he jumps up to above a 77, I guess, technically. Like, if he's a 78 or so, we'll actually call him up, but right now I don't think it's useful to have him in the NHL just yet, so we brought him in the Hemsky deal. He came to us with 2 second-round picks from the Florida Panthers, so going to be interesting to see what our team does this season, but I do not expect us to really add too much in free agency, and I expect our team to hopefully drop off, and hopefully that makes somebody like Sean Horkoff actually want to waive his no movement clause, because currently he does not want to waive this no movement clause, and he is still signed for 4 more years, so we might have to deal with the no movement clause this upcoming season and the season afterwards if he still wants to be here. So we'll see what we end up doing with Sean Horkoff and all that. But anyways, before we get into free agency and probably getting our team set up for another season, I don't know if we'll actually start simulating or not. Let's get in your guys' comments, see what you guys have to say about last episode, and then we'll get all into all that type of stuff. So the first 5 comments, I'm not going to go through them all because they're all from Jared the Rabbit, who basically is just doing his normal due diligence, where he's basically saying one name should be another name. I'm not going to read them all out because there's just too many of them, but I appreciate Jared going through all these names and saying, hey, they actually should be named this, when EA's like got these region names that don't really make much sense. For instance, like he said Owen Kavanaugh. Owen Kavanaugh doesn't really make sense for a Frenchman, so he says Olivier Cadeau instead, which definitely does make more sense. The next comment is from Max Effort, who says, time to bring back Ryan Smith, and I replied to him and I said it's unlikely because he does have a no trade clause on the LA Kings. Like, if we go over to Ryan Smith, you can see that he's got a no movement clause. He is only signed for 1 more year, so there is a chance maybe we could bring him in next year in free agency. But right now, there's no way for us to actually trade for him, which is unfortunate. He's been a crazy simulator so far in franchise mode. I don't know if it's because he's playing next to like Gonze Kopitar or something like that, but he's had a really good time so far in LA. So it would be nice to have Ryan Smith. I don't know if he's in the cards for us to bring in next offseason. Depends if he drops off or not a lot, but it would be nice to have him retire with a team like the Edmonton Oilers. So anyways, I was mentioning that he has a clause, and then Max Effort's like, true, it's like being in a time machine watching knees, lol. Go Oilers, go. Try to stay away from the decade of darkness, bro. And yeah, I kind of hope that it doesn't take us like a full-on decade of basically trying to get this team into a contender. So hopefully we don't have to run into like a decade of darkness like the actual Edmonton Oilers. Hopefully we could find a way to get this team competitive relatively quick, like maybe 5 or 7 years instead of 10 years. That would be good. Like, I think we definitely have the basis of a good team for the future, like I was saying with Gagner, Cogliano, Petrie, Brule, Jordan Eberle. Like, I definitely think we have a good core. It's just all about surrounding that core of players with some other players as well. The next comment is from Max Herman, who says, next year tank for Nail, and that could be an opportunity for us to bring in Nail Yakupov. I think it would be kind of cool to draft Nail Yakupov. Obviously not with our first overall pick if we have a first overall pick. But obviously, since I think Yakupov usually falls back quite a bit because he's NHL ready, but I think I made him only like a medium 9, we might be able to snag him up with like a second first round pick or late or early second round or something like that. But I would like to add Nail Yakupov to this team just for the memes and to see if he could actually become something better than his potential is in this franchise mode. And the last and final comment is from Tyler G 1994, who says some great returns on a lot of trades. Could have maybe gotten more for Hemsky. Bring on the tank season. Fail for Nail 2012. And yes, sir, fail for Nail 2012. Hopefully we could get him. I think we definitely can, because we do have multiple picks coming up in this year's draft, which will be exciting. So will be kind of interesting to see where Yakupov slots into this roster. I think he could fit in this roster quite well, because if you look at our best forwards right now, most of them are centers. So Yakupov being a winger, I think would probably fit really well on this team. So like maybe we could put him next to somebody like Sam Gagner down the road, because I believe I made Yakupov a sniper maybe. And then you have Gagner, who's a playmaker, so maybe that could work out as a future top line if we give Yakupov a chance early. Maybe he'll outgrow his potential and become something really useful for this team. So with that said, I think we're ready to get into the rest of this episode. So first and foremost, we do need to make some staff adjustments. That's the number one thing. I don't remember. Oh yeah, we do need coaches and we need scouts to replace all our C scouts with new scouts. So this is going to be a lot of off-season work, so probably we won't simulate much of the season. If we do, maybe we only simulate the preseason. But let's first and foremost get ourselves a head coach, an assistant, and associate. So I was looking at potential low-rated coaches that also would work well with this team. I can't remember what his name was. I might have to honestly go back to the old episode and find out, because this was our head coach last season, and he got us to the playoffs, so we don't want somebody that good. We need somebody like a C rating. Who was it that was actually the coach that I wanted? It wasn't a guy that was actually an AHL head coach. It might have been one of these guys. Jonathan Ashton, no, wasn't you. Watt's not bad. Osgood's not bad. Zigomanis. Yeah, it might have been Zigomanis. This says a 62. Moses. Yeah, maybe we'll sign the 60%er. Does he have a good teaching grade? I can't remember. No, he doesn't. Let's go sort by teaching grid and see if there's a good teacher out there that's a low rating. Because we're trying to find coaches, like I said, that don't simulate well, but could also teach our young guys. Like this guy. Oh, it was McPherson. Yeah, I definitely remember him now. So yeah, it's definitely McPherson as the head coach this season, because he's got a 65% team fit despite being a C-rated coach. So we'll bring him on in. And then we also need a couple other coaches, so maybe we'll bring in this guy as an associate coach, Quincy Craig. You know, we'll keep on bringing. Actually, no, he's a B-rated coach. We don't want a B-rated coach. We want a C-rated or below. You're an AHL head coach. I don't know how you'd fit with my NHL team. I want somebody that's an NHL coach still too, despite being a C. There's one B rating, and that 59 Skirbeck. Sure, we'll bring you in as the assistant coach. Take the money. Hopefully you're on board. Boom. And then we also need to get one more. And these coaches are going to be so dreadful that we shouldn't simulate good, which is good to see. But we also have good fits with these coaches, hopefully. So we'll have good chemistry, but we won't simulate well, hypothetically. What about Jeffrey Humphreys? 50%. That's a little bit low. I was hoping for a little bit higher. What else we got here? There's got to be another one. B-. I don't want a B- coach. There's another B-, a C. We already need one here in Zigomanis. Yeah, we'll bring in Zigomanis as the other one. And then we just need a goalie coach. So we'll do the NHL assistant for Zigomanis. And then we just need a goalie coach. So let's go back by teaching. And we'll bring in this guy's our goalie coach. So that will be all the NHL coaches taken care of, which hopefully will give us some interesting results. Like hopefully our young prospects won't get their growth stunted because we're going to be a bad team. So that is the coaches taken care of. Scouts, I believe there's going to be a lot of good rated scouts this year. So we are probably going to have to fire almost all of our C-rated scouts, which currently is, I guess, we have 5 B- or 4 B-, and how many A's is there? Oh, wow, there's actually a lot. Okay, yeah, we're definitely going to be getting rid of a lot of our scouts here. So, let's see, 2, 4, 6. Actually, wait, I could just do the math here. So there's 5 of these guys, which means that's 13 of the scouts that are rated a C. So I could hire 13 of these top-rated scouts. So we'll do that. So we'll get 13 of them on board. Obviously, I'll reassign them and stuff in between episodes probably, just so you guys don't have to see all that due diligence. But Let's get 13 of these scouts signed up. I know this stuff is boring, but it will help out our team a lot with the future drafts and all that stuff. So you guys got to take that into account. These scouts are the reason why our team is going to win a Stanley Cup one day. 7 so far. And you get 13. It's always a lot of work at the beginning of the franchise mode signing a bunch of scouts, but once you actually have all those scouts signed up, it's not too bad. Because most of the time it's pretty easy to re-sign scouts. So, there you go. 209 is the 13th. There's still some more B-rated ones, so technically I think I could sign more of these because we have B- scouts as well. We had 5 B- scouts, so we could get rid of, or 3 B- scouts. So I could definitely bring in more than that and get rid of the B- ones too. There you go. So 16 scouts are offered. And it means I could, actually it's 17, so I could hire one more scout. Goddamn, I can barely talk. I was trying to record a members video before this, and I haven't recorded a members video in over a year, so if you were ever thinking about joining, don't join right now. Trying to think of still what to do for stuff like that a little bit more, but there we go, 17 B scouts. We could sign up to 20, so we could sign 19, basically. And then we will get rid of every scout that is not the top scout, basically. God damn, I feel bad for all these scouts that they're all getting fired, but we're finding a lot of replacements. We fire them all. Hopefully they all find jobs with another team somewhere, but we're trying to get the best scouting pool as much as possible, so that way future drafts are a breeze for us. So, but yeah, I'm kind of a little bit out of it today. I'm a little bit overtired. Because this week was the first time I went to the gym 5 days in a week instead of 4, so I'm a little bit more, I don't know, tired than normal. At least it's a break day for me, recording today, so. Alright, so there is all the ones fired, which means we will get these other ones in. That's all good and ready to go. In terms of signing players, like I said, we do need to probably sign some filler defensemen. Aside from that, we should try and find a way to get rid of the Bowen Wall if we can. And then we would sign Grubauer to his ELC, likely, if that's the case. So we need 2 more defenders and a depth defender is what I was mentioning in the last episode. So let's sign some defensemen and see what we got here. Because I cannot remember. Even though I literally recorded this last episode like a couple days ago. So what do we got? What do we got? Somebody that's not super good, but not super bad either. Somebody like these type of guys, 78 overalls. Lucas Krejcik might be okay. He's only 28 years old. Shane O'Brien's just a physical defenseman. I don't really need too many physical players. Ryan O'Byrne's kind of interesting to me. I'll bring him in because he's a right D-man. He's only 26. Only wants a 2-way deal as well, so we are going to bring in Ryan O'Byrne as one of those defensemen for sure. And then the other one we'll bring in, actually maybe Adam Party. I do like Adam Party a little bit, so we'll bring in Party, the party animal. And maybe this team could party a little bit more even though they're going to be losing a bunch. And we'll sign one depth defenseman. We'll go with Samuel Lepisto because he's 26 as well. Kind of want those younger defensemen, so. We do need to probably bring in a cap whale, though. That's the thing. I should have probably given those guys more money. So if I need a cap whale, we might as well sign like one person that's going to make a lot of money, but they're going to be a lower overall. We could probably go to all skaters here. Actually, let's just sign a random Ford potentially here. That's like a 77 or something. And then I'll get a lot of money to hopefully make us a little bit more cap compliant. So somebody like Rod Pelly would be okay, or Trevor Smith. Actually, maybe I'll sign both these guys in case, because they might make our lineup. Let's go 1-year deal for you, 1-way deal, and Rod Pelly, you're gonna get $5 million to basically sit on my bench or play in the AHL. Let's go with $6 million even. I know it's kind of unrealistic doing stuff like that, but we need to find a way to be cap compliant. And I don't want to take a chance on it. Also, I would like to get rid of the Bowen Wall. And if I do get rid of the Bowen Wall, we need to still be cap compliant. So, you know what? The other signing I'm going to make is Enver Leeson, actually. He's only 25. Might as well sign some guys that might be able to do a little bit of work. So, we'll give him like $3 million if possible. And then that way, when I trade away the Bullen Wall, we should be still hopefully cap compliant. We're at $22 million in cap space. I don't know where we are in terms of the cap floor right now. We're still well below. Goddamn. That's not good, because I want to be at the floor. So let's go to free agents again. And we might have to sign somebody to a lucrative contract. I don't think we have any RFAs holding out, right? I don't remember. Let's see. RFAs. No, we don't have any RFAs holding out. So yeah, we definitely got to give somebody like 5-6 million again. That's the only thing that sucks about the salary cap back in the day. Let's do a forwards again. So we'll go forwards and we'll simulate down to, well, not simulate down. What am I saying? We'll find another guy that's like young that we could bring in here. 21. Oh wow, Zach Boychuk got let go of just because he only has the AHL top 6 potential. Zach Boychuk only being 21 years old. We'll sign him even though he's a friggin' weird Twitter dude now. We'll bring him in. One-way deal, and he could take all the money that he needs. We'll go like 6 million as well for him, and that will help us quite a bit. So welcome aboard to Boychuk. That should maybe make us close to cap compliant, right? Let's see. We're right at the floor right now, and if we trade away, obviously, Heavy Boom, we'd be below the floor. So maybe we'll keep the Boom Wall in the AHL. I'm trying to think, though. Actually, maybe I will already sign Grubauer, but just use the Boom Wall as a healthy scratch in the NHL. That might not be a bad option. But then he's going to lose morale and all that. Let me go to find trade and see what we could get for the Boom Wall if there's any offers thrown at us. I don't think there will be, though. So Heavy Bullen. Joachim Anderson straight up. I mean, we might as well take it. It's not necessarily the best offer in the world for Heavy Bullen, but we don't have use for the Bullen Wall right now. I don't know why Detroit has use for him, but Joachim Anderson basically will get us out of that contract that Heavy Bullen's making. So we're going to do this deal. It's not really the best deal in the world, but we're going to just get rid of the Bullen Wall. And there we go. Now we are going to fall below the floor probably because of that, though, right? Which means I'm going to have to sign another player. Yep, we're going to have to sign another player to a weird contract, but it is what it is. At least I'm only giving them 1-year deals. It's not like I'm going multiple years. So let's go back to free agents. And we'll sign one more player. And then that will be all we need in terms of free agent signings. I'm interested to see where a lot of these players go, though. Because obviously free agent periods are one of the most fun things about these throwback franchise modes. Nick Bonino got let go of. I don't want to take him because I feel like he's going to be too good eventually. I don't want to steal somebody. Matt D'Agostini has only low top 9 potential, so I'm going to take D'Agostini as well. Some of these guys honestly might be in our bottom 6 next season, but that's okay. I'd prefer to play somebody like D'Agostini over like an enforcer like JF Jacques, for instance. So let's go with maybe around 5.75 on Dago. Boom. And that's good. So now we should be cap compliant, if I'm not mistaken, again. Just because of that Bullen trade. Yes, okay, good. So we're good in the money situation. We have signed more players than I was hoping to sign, but we did get rid of the Bullen Wall, and we should be pretty much set up now in that sense, right? Trying to think if there's anything else we got to do. I don't think so. So now what we're going to do is we could do some off-season focuses, but maybe for the younger guys. Let's do a couple younger guys, the off-season focuses. I know a lot of you guys don't like this stuff, but it's important to do. So let's try and get Sam Gagne better at face-offs, just because maybe that'll be nice for us to help us with some offensive zone opportunities. Aside from that, we'll also do a couple other dudes like Petrie. We'll try and get Petrie to get better offensively, just because Petrie is a decent two-way defenseman. Let's go with awareness on him. He says he could hold his zone apparently on that. That's okay. Devin Dubnyk, we might as well do. We might as well do a lot of these younger options just because they'll actually still grow. Let's go with athleticism from Dubnyk. Since he's a bigger goaltender, sure. Let's get him to be more athletic. Brule will do. Eberle will do. And then that might be it. Cogliano too. Just want to make sure the right guys are getting some growth here. So Brule, let's go face-off percentage for him as well. Sure. Just because if we could win more draws, that might give us better opportunities in the O zone especially. Let's go Cogliano next. We'll probably do face-offs for Cogs as well. He's not really a good centerman. He's more of a left winger, but we'll definitely just go face-offs and try and get him to maybe become a player that can be used in both ways. So with that, Jordan Eberle, and then that might be all we target for now. Let's see, we will go, for Eberle, we'll go offensive, and we'll try and get him to keep scoring more goals if possible. So let's get that awareness up there if possible. And then we're also going to go to quickly sign Grubauer for the AHL, because we do need our 4th goalie under contract, so we will sign Grubauer to his ELC, and then he will get the play with Brian Pitton down in Springfield. So Grubauer will get his ELC, and there we go. So he signed up. It says he's still in Windsor, so maybe it's other leagues that were actually allowing it. So he might not be AHL eligible. That's not good. If he's not AHL eligible, we'll have to wait a year before he plays in the AHL, but Brian Pitton could take it into his own account in the AHL. That's fine. All right, so everything I think we needed to do to start off this episode is done with. Let's simulate through a month of free agency, see what trades go on, what signings go on, because obviously it could be some complete chaos that happens around the league. Maybe we'll take a look at the free agent signings in August as well. Oh yeah, I forgot all the scouts that we offered contracts to, so we're going to have to see all those pop-ups. But McPherson's on board to become the head coach of the Edmonton Oilers. Nice. Skrbek is rejected as the NHL assistant, so I'm going to try and come back to him in a second here. Zigomanis is on board as the assistant. And we get also some of these scouts already accepting too. I have to try and get back that guy in Skrbek. I have to remember that name. Man, we have offered so many contracts to scouts that we're going to just keep on seeing us pop up for a long time, it seems like. God damn. All 19 of these scouts. So sorry if you're seeing the screen flash like crazy. Just what happens when you offer that many contracts out. Alright, so let's try and get back that other coach that we were trying to go for that decided he didn't like our market enough. Let's go with this, and we'll go down to here. We will sort by alphabetical because we need Skrbek, his name was. He's not going to get a contract anywhere else, so we're going to bring in Skrbek as the associate coach. Maybe I accidentally offered him assistant too. I don't even know. But let's just give him the max amount for an associate, and he should be on board with that. We're still waiting on the goalie coach to accept too. So hopefully he accepts relatively soon. Alright, let's advance to the end of the month still. See if these guys are on board. So Neuwirth is on board as the goalie coach. That's good to see. Alright. And there's more scouts, of course. We'll have to wait a little bit longer on Skrbek. But man, so many staff members getting added to this organization. It's actually outrageous. But I'm excited to see what they could do in terms of scouting, as they should be able to find out some good stuff about draft class. There's Skrbek on board, so that's nice. And that's all the scouts and stuff taken care of. Good. Let's decline and edit our trading block, because we're not getting thrown offers we want anyways. We're just going to remove everything from our surplus and wants, just because I don't feel like I want any off-season offers at the moment. But I am curious on if there's been any AI trades this offseason so far. Like, some teams like to sign players and then flip them right away, which is kind of strange. So hopefully we're not seeing too much of that. So just because it's kind of a bit unrealistic to go out and sign a guy in free agency and then literally flip him, but that's what the AI does in this game sometimes. So that's all taken care of. Now we don't have any offers thrown at us, and we'll be able to see some free agent signings. Hopefully the Capitals don't add anything crazy, because if they do, it's going to be kind of annoying, because they've won back-to-back Stanley Cups already. So let's go activity feed. We'll start by looking at trades that have happened this offseason. So first and foremost, the Coyotes have acquired Kyle Palmieri and Maxime Masonauer from the Ducks for Chris Summers, a fourth and a third. I don't know why Anaheim gave up Kyle Palmieri to get somebody like Chris Summers, but not going to complain, I guess. Columbus gets the rights to Garrett Sparks in a second, who was just recently drafted for third, and Jeff Taff. Calgary gets a third in Freddie Sjustrom from Toronto for a fourth, a fifth in Yoni Orcio. So Schustrom's on his way to the Flames, which he actually played with because he was a part of like that big trade with like Dion Phaneuf and all that stuff, Jamal Mayers. So that's kind of interesting. Vancouver's acquired Feder Tootin and Andrew Ebbett from Columbus for a third and a sixth. So Feder Tootin on his way to the Canucks. That's a pretty nice addition for Vancouver on that defensive core. Carolina gets Rafi Torres a fifth and Aaron Johnson from Florida. Florida gets back a third and a fourth. All right. Nashville gets Matt Karchner in a fifth from Ottawa for a third and Anders Lindback. Okay. And then there is our trade with Hebby Bullen. All right. In terms of signings, what do we got? Any crazy results? So Mike Smith is back in Tampa again. I think he was already in Tampa to start this. Joey McDonald signed with the Flames. I'm pretty sure he actually played there at one point. Aside from that, legacy in Pittsburgh. I'm not going to read everything out, but if you guys see anything crazy, let me know. Like Hedberg signing in New Jersey is realistic because he was there, I think, after Atlanta, if I remember right. Because he was there when Kovalchuk was there, if I'm not mistaken. So Jason LaBarbera, I think he played for Anaheim at one point. Ray Croft in Nashville, Patrick Hughes in the Rangers. Our former defenseman Strudwick's off to Florida. Ray Whitney goes to the Islanders. Interesting. Ryan Reeves still re-signs in St. Louis. Randy Jones to Tampa. I think he was already in Tampa to start this. If he wasn't, he's played for Tampa in real life around this point, so that's kind of cool. No, he might have actually been in LA to start this. I don't even know. Sean Bergenheim signs with the Islanders, so he goes back to where he started his career. Kopecky going back to Detroit, which is where I think he was to start this franchise mode. No, he was in Chicago to start, wasn't he? Yeah, I think he was in Chicago to start. Oh, I forgot about bringing in somebody like Mark Mathot instead. Oh, well. He ends up in Florida. Mike Rupp ends up in Ottawa. That's kind of funny seeing Rupp and Mathot there at the same time. Kind of interesting, all right. Anything else? Frolov going back to the Rangers on a 3-year deal. Radek Bonk to Dallas. Miroslav Satan to Florida. Vernon Fiddler to Vancouver. Svatos to the Islanders. Just looking for like the big names. Todd White goes to the Rangers where he actually played around this point in time, so that's kind of sick too. Ryan Shannon going back to Ottawa again. Teddy Purcell stays with Tampa. We were looking into maybe bringing in Purcell, but we didn't. Solani signs with the Florida Panthers, so that's one of the big free agents available. Florida looks like they added a lot, which is kind of strange, but we did just trade them Ales Hemsky, so Hemsky's going to get to play with like Solani and stuff like that in Florida. So that pick we got from Florida, those picks we got from Florida, might not be very good at this point. Kent Huskins to Toronto. Doug Weight goes back to St. Louis. That's cool. A lot of guys are going back to their old teams. Dimitra signs with the Rangers. Cristobal Huey going back to Chicago again on a 1-year deal. Aside from that, any crazy ones? Morrow going to Minnesota. That's our former captain. Campoli to the Yotes. Martin St. Louis signs with the New York Islanders. So I don't know if Saturn Otaku would prefer him on the Rangers or the Islanders, but St. Louis is going to be a rival against Nikita Kucherov, which is kind of hilarious. So he does go to a New York team, but it is not the Rangers. So that's kind of funny there. Dwayne Rolson going to Chicago, so he's still kicking. Kovalev still stays in Ottawa. Pascal Dupuis goes back to Minnesota. What else we got here? Anaheim matches the offer sheet that Colorado gave. So Colorado tried the offer sheet Matt Bolesky. That's kind of interesting. Aside from that, Brad Richardson goes to Calgary. He played there in real life. Colby Armstrong goes to Toronto. He played there in real life. Curtis McElhinney goes to Columbus. He played there in real life. I feel like everybody's going to teams they played for. Nick Bonino in Chicago. Troy Brouwer at the Islanders. Ed Jovanovski on the Islanders. Damn, Islanders and Panthers really loaded up this offseason, didn't they? That's crazy. Bruno Gervais to Dallas. Adam Foote to Carolina. All right. Any other crazy results? Ew, Craig Anderson's a Leaf. That's not what I wanted to see. That's kind of disgusting. Ben Bishop stays in St. Louis. Osgood goes to the LA Kings. All right. Pascal Leclerc to the Yotes. Mark Letestu still in Pittsburgh. A lot of interesting free agent signings. Niemi signs a 6-year deal with the Colorado Avalanche. Hey, I mean, good for him. And Brzgalov stays with the Yotes. Jonathan Erickson signed with Nashville. Manuel Hotra going back to Dallas where he played. Obviously, Eric Brewer goes back to the Islanders where he played. Now, Kevin BX gets a 6-year deal in Florida. All right, so yeah, Florida is definitely loaded up quite a bit, which makes me kind of scared about them. Brian McCabe signs with San Jose. Ian White signed in St. Louis. Jaguar signs in Ottawa. That's kind of strange because obviously he beat us in the Stanley Cup Finals in 07. Goddamn. Chris Phillips signs with the Yotes. Strawman to Columbus, which he was already there. Simone Gagne to Carolina. Interesting. Rob Blake to St. Louis. Justin Williams got a 6-year deal with the Pittsburgh Penguins. And Mark Giordano signed with the Vancouver Canucks. Tim Connolly goes to Toronto on a 5-year deal. That's realistic. Because Tim Connolly was on the Leafs right near the end of his career, but he had injury problems, or else he would have been maybe actually a pretty good fit there in Toronto. But 5-year deal for Tim Connolly with the Leafs. We'll see if he ends up being injured a lot with them. Claude Giroux gets a 3-year deal out of arbitration, and then obviously we signed a bunch of random fits just to give us money. Wow. All right. So that's that. I don't know if we'll take a look at the free agent signings in August. Maybe we could. Just to see if there's any crazy additions too. Or any trades in the month of August before the season starts. Maybe next episode. Actually, I guess in the last season I did show you guys everybody's roster before the season. So maybe I should do that. I don't even know. Should I look at more signings? Let's just take a brief look at these signings for August. Just to see if there's any crazy additions this month. Any trades? There was more trades in August. Radek Bonk got dealt to Washington after he signed with Dallas. Mike Motto got dealt to Ottawa. Klesla to Colorado. Hal Gill to New Jersey. Josephson to Colorado. Interesting signings. A lot of more mid type of players, but still signed through this so you guys can see. Rick Rippon to Philadelphia. Not as much signings for sure in August. Eric Cole's now a Blue Jacket. So there's all that. All right. So there is the free agent signings. Let's get to the start of the preseason. And we'll get our lineup set up. We might simulate through the preseason because I do kind of want to take a look at what teams are rocking for the start of the season. So we'll do obviously some season focuses and stuff like that too. But let's get these lines set up the way they should be. So in terms of goaltending, it's going to be Dubnyk and Delorier. Dubnyk is actually listed now as a legit starting goaltender, so that's kind of cool. He is a pending UFA at the end of the year, so we'll have to make a decision with him. AHL, it's going to be Grubauer and Pitton, so Grubauer is AHL eligible. He's up to a 70 overall now, so that's good to see. Hopefully Grubauer can make the NHL in a few years. But yeah, Dubnyk and Delorier in the NHL. Defensively, we got Petrie and Schmid, Rhino Byrne and Adam Party, Samuel Lepisto and Taylor Chorney. Lucas Spiza should be up here, hypothetically, which means we are going to call him up. But Justin Falk and Alex Plant and those guys are still AHLers for now. So that's fine, yeah. We'll have Falk in the AHL. We'll probably end up using like Chorney or Lepisto as the depth defenseman. Not too sure which one. From an offensive standpoint, Eberle, D'Agostini, and Leeson. McDonald in the AHL. I mean, we could use McDonald in the NHL if we really want to. But I think that's fine for now. O'Sullivan, Nilsson, Jones, and Boychuk. We have Hagelin in the AHL. Hagelin's pretty much ready to go. He's pretty much ready to go. Yeah, I wouldn't mind having Carl Hagelin in our lineup, potentially. Let me see what we got for centers. Gagne, Cogliano, Horkov, Brule, Pouliot, Nash, Pelly. Maybe I would actually just go with this for now. Maybe keeping Hagelin in the AHL a little bit longer is not a bad idea. We have a lot of guys that are pretty much depth forwards, though. So, let's get this set up here and see what we're rocking with. So, we are going to use Cogliano as a left winger more, which means we are going to move Brule to second line center. Horkov will play third line center. Nilsson's going to be utilized more as a winger as well because he's not a good face-off guy, which means we are going to go Eberle as the top line right winger. We'll probably have Pouliot second line right wing, D'Agostini as the third line right wing because he's a two-way forward. Or maybe we'll move Jones up. Yeah, let's move Jones up, sure. Riley Nash still playing, Zach Boychuk playing. Who's scratched? Pelly, Leeson, and Spiza. I would prefer to play Spiza on the defensive core over Lepisto or Chorny. Lepisto's an OFD. How good does his stats look? Not the craziest offensive awareness. Chorny is a two-way? Yeah. Chorny's 24. Lepisto is 26. I guess we'll take Lepisto out. And we'll throw Sabiza into that spot with Party. Alright. Like, our chemistry really doesn't look that bad for having a C-rated coach. So we shouldn't simulate good, but we should be still good in terms of getting guys like Eberle some growth, I think. Goalies, Dubnik and Delorier. Scratches are fine. Yeah, that should be good. Let's double check the power play lines. Lucas Spiza being on the power play, probably not an idea that I'd want to have. We do not really have a lot of offensive guys, so we'll give it to Chorny on the first power play. Actually, we should give this to Petrie. Yeah, Petrie will be on the first power play. Chorny will be on the second unit. Chorny already is on the second unit, so we'll have to put a forward on that point. Which, who do we want to give it to? Trying to think of who deserves some more ice time. Maybe we go with Pouliot. Is he on there? No, he's not. Okay, we'll go with Pouliot. I don't know who would take the point shots, though. Not a lot of these guys are good shooters. Brule is an okay shooter, I guess. So we'll put Brule at the point, and then we'll put Pouliot on the power play. Trying to go with guys with more offensive player types. So that's good. Penalty kill. Brule, Nash, that's fine. Party, Petrie, Horkov, Cogliano, Schmid, O'Byrne, Boychuk, D'Agostini, Chorny, Spiza. It's fine. It's fine. Okay. So that's going to be our team for this season. AHL, let's just go best lines for a second here and reconfigure this based on potential. So Hagelin with Burmistrov and Nyquist. That's a really good top line for the AHL. I like that a lot. Then more of a veteran second line with Redix, Patolny, and McDonald. Third line, Jacques Vandevelde and Stortini. Fourth line, O'Mara, Lander, and Payarvi. I want Payarvi higher, so we'll move Payarvi to the second line. Lander should be probably higher in some areas. Let's see, he's medium bottom 6. Vandevelde's also bottom 6, but he's already 24. We'll swap Lander and him around. Actually, let's get Lander on that second line, I guess. And then O'Mara is only 24. A lot of those guys don't matter at that stage. Defensively, we'll keep Falk on the top pairing. Arsene will play with Falk maybe, or maybe Safronov. Yeah, we'll go with Safronov, and then we'll swap these two. Nope, that doesn't work. What about these two? Nope, that doesn't work. Well, -1's fine. Goalies, Grubauer, Pitton, Scratches, Wild. Linus Omark needs to be playing. Hodgson needs to be playing. And Anderson hypothetically should be, but not a huge issue. We're going to take Patolny out of the lineup for Hodgson. And then Hodgson's going to go to the second line instead of Lander. And we're going to get Omark into the second line, which means I'm going to take JF Jacques out of the lineup for Linus Omark. Or Linus Omark, whatever you want to say. And then him and Payarvi. Actually, Omark's only got a low 9 potential, but I should get him a little bit higher maybe. Damn, our HL team should be pretty much poised up to have actually a good playoff run this year, based on how deep it is, as long as they stay healthy. But yeah, it's good. All right, so AHL is set up nicely. NHL is set up, which is good to see. Now that that is all set up and ready to go, let's go done on that. Let's do some season goals for a couple people, I think. Or should I? Let's do it maybe for guys like Eberle. I don't know about anybody else really, but just want to get a couple season goals in there. Like Jordan Eberle, let's try and get him to score some goals maybe. Stat challenge. Let's go goals. 30 goals this season. I don't think he's going to hit 30 goals, but we'll definitely try it. He was decent last year. So with that, Gagne, maybe we'll try on assists. A couple of these guys deserve to have goals. Other guys, not so much. So this will help us in terms of growing our team to being better. So let's go with assists on Gagne. Aside from that, anybody else I want to give it to? Cogs is kind of a bit getting closer to old now at this point. Well, not really old, but Petrie I guess I could give to. Because Petrie, I want him to continue to get better offensively if possible. So we'll do assist related, I think, for him. And see if he could reach that. Aside from that, I think everything else might be fine. Let's double check if there's anybody else I want to work on. I might as well get Spiza to like do shot blocking because I know that he could block a lot of shots, so we'll do something like that for him since he's only 21. So we'll go with the 2 block shots per game because I think he was blocking a lot. So that should be good for the NHL. AHL, is there anybody I want to focus on? There's a lot of good AHL talent, but I mean, maybe just letting them play will help their growth for now. So I think I'm going to keep that the same. And I think we are good to simulate. So I'm going to simulate through the preseason, and then we'll take a look at everybody's lines at the start of the regular season. Because I don't think we're going to simulate any regular season yet. I just want to kind of know what other teams are rocking to start the year. Just because we shouldn't be a good team this year. What does Uriel McPherson think of our roster? Out of curiosity. Let's do our preseason focus, and we'll do skill training. Try and get a lot of these guys to get better. And our season goal, what does he think? Looking into me at roster and paper, there's a lot of work to do before we can compete. It may take some time, but we'll get there. So he actually thinks that we're not going to be a playoff team, which is good. So we shouldn't be a playoff team, which means the rebuild should fully commence this year, which is good because we've been trying to start rebuilding for the last few years. But let's see what we do in the preseason. And like I said, we'll take a look at some teams to start off this season as well. 0-4 in the preseason. All right. Kind of as expected. And Devin Dubnyk wasn't super good. We were only scoring 1 goal a game that preseason. God damn. So, yeah, the leader was 2 points for Gagne. Oh, boy. Yep, we're definitely going to have a rough year if our preseason stuff is like this. Like, if we're only scoring this much in the preseason, we definitely are going to have a tough time. Best plus minus was Riley Nash. So shout out to Riley Nash, who's going to make his debut this year. Both goalies were okay in save percentage, but not goals against. All right. We don't really care too much about the preseason anyways. All right, so that is good. Let's get to the start of the regular season, and we're going to take a look at every team's lineup like we did last year. And we'll also take actually a look at the draft class briefly. Maybe I should show you guys that first, just so you guys can kind of see what there is this season. I also do need to reassign all my scouts still technically in between episodes, so got to remember to do that after this episode ends, basically. But in terms of the draft class, Philip Forsberg, this is the best prospect in this draft class. There's also a generated guy named Festerini. Vasiliev is also generated, but there's also like Thomas Hurdle, Morgan Riley, Shane Gossesbear, some guy named Chase Cameron. Nikita Gusev is supposed to go early. I don't remember how good I made Nikita Gusev, unless this is a generated Nikita Gusev. I honestly don't know. I think it's his right class. But yeah, there's a lot of interesting players in this draft class. Good goalies like Vasilevsky. So if we want a good goalie prospect instead of Grubauer, Vasilevsky is going to be really, really good. He's going to have a high potential. There's also Connor Hellebuck in this draft class too, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, right there. I mean, he wasn't similarly good in the playoffs, right? But so there is going to be some good options this year. If we're looking for our boy Neil Yakupov, where is he supposed to go? Because I do not remember. Oh yeah, all the way here. 51st. So we should be able to get somebody like Yakupov next round, like second round. So we'll definitely try and draft him to join this team, just because obviously you kind of need to have him on this roster. So there is that. Let's take a look at every team around the league and see what they're rocking going into the 2011-12 season. Because I am kind of curious on some of these lineups. Like obviously, like I saw, the Islanders and the Panthers made a lot of additions, so expect some crazy results. Okay, so starting off, I guess the Ducks are in some cap compliancy problems because Logan McMillan, as a 69 overall, will be playing in the NHL. Peter Holland is a 72. George Peros is a 73 will be playing. But they definitely have some cap-related issues. Maybe I should look at every team's salary cap as well. Defensively, there's Sheldon Souray, obviously, who we dealt to them. How did he play last year with them? 24 points in 49 games. Pretty solid. Pretty solid. Only 1 goal in 5 playoff games, though. Aside from that, Jack Hillen's also new. Wisnowski's playing on the top 6 pairing. That's a bit strange. But, yeah, interesting. Okay. Goalies, what do they got? Still Hiller and Jason LaBarbera, as we saw him sign there. Jake Gardner's a healthy scratch. I don't know why they're scratching Brian Rodney, Denny Severette. All right. Atlanta has made a lot of changes. Matt Molson is there. Michael Ryder is there, as we saw, I think, last season. Kamil Krebs is there. Derek Stepan is already made the NHL team. Did he play there last year already? No, he played in the AHL, and he's already up to an 83 after a year. Damn. Defensively, I mean, Francois Beauchemin we saw was acquired. Freddie Meyer. What about goalies? Pavlik and Mason still. Jason Krog is back in the NHL. Vasunov's there. And Brett Lebda. The Boston Bruins still have a great roster. Yager's still there. Naslin's still there. Mark Recchi is still there. Goddamn, they basically have their entire roster pretty much the exact same, except for Brett McLean. But shout out to Brad Marchand, playing fourth line as an 85. That's crazy. They should definitely get rid of Naslin at some point anyways. But defensively, Chera Weidman, Seidenberg, Boychuk. Steven Kampfer's made the NHL. Goaltending, Raskin Thomas still. And in depth is Adam McQuaid and Mike Koska. Shout out to Mike Koska. Buffalo. Michael Grabner is new, I think. Nigel Dawes is a new signing. Defensively, they have that Brzgalov guy who they drafted in year 1, I think. Zubov is starting to drop off. Barrett Jackman's there now. Goalies, Eric Erzberg and Ryan Miller. Okay. Matt Karkner's there as a healthy scratch. All right. Kind of some weird teams here early on. Calgary, Forsberg's dropping off a lot, but he's still playing with Stajan and Iginla, which is nice for him. Wow, Mikhail Backlund's jumped to an 87. I don't know why a lot of these guys are getting some crazy growth, but I'm here for it. I am here for it. This LaBarbera guy who was drafted high up is on their fourth line. Freddie Schustrom's there now, as we saw with Jay McClement. Defensively, John Erskine's new. I believe last year he was on a different team. Goaltending, Joey McDonald's the backup now. Brandon Buchinski, Colin Fraser, Evgeny Artukin. We head to Carolina. Dustin Penner's getting a chance to play with Eric Stahl and Yuri Tolusti. Kind of weird that Yuri Tolusti's up there. Braden Shen's getting second line ice time already next to Simone Gagne and Brandon Sutter. All right. Rafi Torres is there now. Rob Schremp. Looks like a lot of changes on Carolina. Adam Foote there at 40 years old. Goaltending. Michael Telquist is there now. Jake Muzzin is a healthy scratch. That's kind of an interesting one. He was last year in the AHL. Huh. All right. What about Chicago? Still very stacked. Still very stacked. I mean, now they drafted Sean Couturier as well on this roster, so they already have maybe a replacement for Jonathan Toews down the road. Who knows? But yeah, that's an interesting team. Not super strong down the middle. Nick Bonino's kind of nice addition. But yeah, that's still a really good team. Defensively, Brent Sobel's getting second pairing time. Brett Clark's there now. Hjalmarsson's is actually playing in the lineup now, which is good because in year 1 he barely played. Goalies, Crawford and Rollison. Alright. Scratches, Leddy and Bell. Don't know about scratching Nick Leddy, but okay. Colorado, Olli Jokinen as a top-line center for the Avs. Kind of strange. Kind of strange indeed. Corey Stillman is there now too. David Desharnais, Steve Ott. A lot of these teams are changing players quite often, but that's kind of cool though. So I'll take it. Yeah, a lot of changes. Niemi is the starter in Colorado after 2 years in Chicago. They just could not afford him for that next year after that, I guess. Scratches, Ryan Wilson, Jake Dowell. Not the best healthy scratches. Columbus. Nashville, that Olsen guy and Voracek. I like that top line. Second line, Broussard, Vermette, and Cole. A little bit weaker, but still interesting team in Columbus that they're building up. Goalies, Steve Mason still. Jan Denis the backup now. Dallas, still very stacked on that left side as they've always been. James Neal's playing fourth line ice time. Should probably be getting power play time, but Manny Malhotra slots in nicely as a third line center. So that's cool. Defensively, that defensive core is okay. Goalies, Letton and Turco still. Scratches. Christoph Schubert, Matt Hunwick, and Bruno Gervais. A lot of teams like to load up on defensemen, I guess. Detroit still looking really solid. Chuck Kobasu there now on that top 6. Aaron Asham's now at Red Wing as well. Kopecki's back after a brief stint with the Blackhawks. And then defensively, there's our former D-man, Tom Gilbert. I forgot that we just sent Happy Bull in there as well. But Tom Gilbert getting to play with Nick Cronwall. He's pretty much like the replacement for Lidstrom because they lost Lidstrom to retirement. So Tom Gilbert's going to get a big chance to play in Detroit. He moves Rafalski down to the second pairing because of that. Huh. Goalies, Jimmy Howard and Hebby Bullen will also be playing in Detroit as the backup. He did shut them out when we were playing in the playoffs a number of years ago, but still kind of funny that he's there now. All right. We head to Florida. Florida made a lot of additions this year. So top line, Frolik, Weiss, and Solani, who they signed in free agency after we traded them Ales Hemsky, who's going to get the play next to Steven Reinprecht and David Booth. Weird second line. Third line has MacArthur, Belanger, and Nathan Horton. And fourth line has Dodonov, Matthias, and Shatan. Why the hell did they bring in Solani, though, after we traded them Hemsky, when they already had Horton and Dodonov? And why isn't Dodonov playing left wing and Clark MacArthur's down on the fourth line or something? Some of these AI teams are dumb in terms of construction, but they also have Bieksa, Orpik is new, Mark Mathott's new. Yeah, Florida went through a lot of change. Huh. Spending that Florida cash. LA. Ryan Smith obviously still there with Kopitar and Brown. That line usually simulates good. Paul Korea's still there. Of course, Thorburns now part of the Kings. Paul Martin's still there. Goalies. Jonathan Quick, Jonathan Bernier. Dmitry Kalinin. Oh my goodness. Why are you scratching Alec Martinez? That guy's a legend. God damn. Minnesota anyways. Jussi Jokinen now there in Minnesota. I don't know why, but I always used to think Oli and Jussi Jokinen were related, and then I found out like a year or two ago that they're not, and I was surprised as hell to hear that. I don't even know how they're not related, because I honestly like literally thought growing up, I'm like, those two are brothers easily, but they're not. Jokinen, I guess, is just a common Finnish last name, but it's kind of weird. Goalies in Minnesota. Backstrom's dropped down to an 82. Dan Ellis. We head to Montreal. Pretty much a normal Montreal team, except for Brad Boyes is there now. Antti Mietinen's there now. Lombardi, as we saw, was there already, I think. Trevor Smith. Mike Knubel's kind of a weird one, considering he played for the Bruins. Interesting defensive core with Aaron Ward. Goalies, Matthew Guérin's back in Montreal again as the backup. And scratches. Sergei Kostitsyn scratched. I don't think Andre Kostitsyn would like it if the Habs scratched his brother. I don't know. Nashville, I mean, Huselius is still there. Ryan Callahan was brought in. Ryan Callahan's a little sneaky addition still for the Preds. I like that addition quite a bit. He was over point per game when he played with the Rangers in the playoffs in year one. Didn't make the playoffs last year with the Preds, but he's kind of a good addition to have behind Radulov and Erat. Defensively, Adam Larsson's going to make the NHL out of the draft, so that's going to be interesting. Jonathan Ericsson was brought in. Goalies, Pecorine, Andrew Raycroft, Jordan Tutu's a scratch. Cody Franson and Roman Josi is scratched. Why would you scratch a high elite defenseman? Oh my god, man. Like, definitely you ought to put him in instead of Jonathan Ericsson, right? Or even Adam Larsson should be maybe in the AHL instead, but goddamn. New Jersey, a lot of strong left wingers as well, kind of like Dallas in that way. Nick Palmieri's playing. Steven Gionta's playing in the lineup. That's realistic, I guess. David McIntyre's even playing. Damn, some of these teams must be really cap constrained. Kind of curious if there's any good free agents still available or not. Broder and Hedberg. Yeah, Hedberg definitely played there around this time, right? Or maybe it was a year before. So I know he definitely played right at the end of his career with the New Jersey Devils, I think. Because I have like a card of him from 2009-10 Series 1 or 2. Like one of the base cards, but the Islanders also made a lot of additions. Obviously, they drafted Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, which I forgot about. So, Nuge is playing on a top line with Tavares and St. Louis to start his career. That's actually kind of sick. So, I applaud the Islanders GM for actually being competent. Because at this point in time, it would have been Garth Snow, I guess. But, yeah, that's an interesting top line. Second line has Wolski, who they brought in as well. Wolski was not getting a lot of playing time last year with the Yotes. So, that's kind of a sneaky addition. They have Tomo Rutu now. Ray Whitney. And John Mitchell's there. Okposo on the fourth line. God damn. Yeah, some of these teams are really well built up. Cam Fowler's also in New York now, too. Oh, he was drafted by them. I thought he was traded away. God damn. Yeah, this is actually not that bad. The defensive core still needs some growth, but The Islanders are starting to build up a team. They are going to be running Rick DiPietro as their starter now, which kind of makes sense when he is signed for still 6 more years. And then Al Montoy is the backup, which is realistic to this time period. Troy Brouwer, Trent Hunter, Andrew Alberts. Yeah, that Islanders team is interesting. I do like that top line a lot, though. Because Nugent Hopkins playing next to Tavares and St. Louis. They're all playmakers, but still should be cool. The New York Rangers. Anything interesting? Not crazy. What about the defense? Wait, didn't they bring in... Oh, wait, they drafted Kucherov, but Kucherov is not there. He might be scratched. If they're scratching Kucherov, that's kind of dumb. That is kind of dumb. McDonough's the top 4 now. Goalies, the Lundqvist and Ald. And Kucherov is not there, so Kucherov might be in the AHL to start off the year. Which is kind of not what I was anticipating. But that's cool. So, Kucherov not playing yet. I guess it kind of makes sense, though. Don't really want to rush him. The Ottawa Senators have Landeskog playing with Spezza and Alfredson. That's actually pretty sick. Makes me think of the 2012 All-Star game still. Kovalev, Fisher, Mahalik, Foligno, Regan, and Langenbrunner. Langenbrunner being a Sen is kind of strange because of what he did in 03 to the Sens. Him and Jeff Friesen scored goals in a big Game 7, I think it was. Chris Neal, Kyle Chipchura, and Alexei Ponikarovsky. Still weird as a Sen. Ludman, Carlson, Kuba, and Lee, Grabeshkov, and Boynton. Not the best defensive core. Goalies Jaguar and Elliott. Alright. And it scratches Chichu, Rupp, and Ryan Shannon. Philadelphia. Richards, Drew, Carter, Hartnell, Briere, Scheifele. Mark Scheifele getting a chance already in that top 6 is pretty cool. Their center depth in Philadelphia is starting to drop off a bit. Briere is also dropping. So them bringing in Scheifele as a draft selection is kind of cool. And it does make sense. Defensively, Pronger's still there at 36, but he's an 89. Goddamn. Goalies, Leighton and Emery. So yeah, Philadelphia might be cap constrained a bit too. Phoenix. Pretty much a normal Phoenix team, except for obviously Jeff Skinner's in the NHL. Chris Drury's the second line center there now. Shane Doan is still kicking right there. Why is Kyle Turisto playing 4th line over Gregory Campbell? I don't understand that whatsoever. Not even going to question stuff like that anymore, though. Because with how this game is sometimes. Goalies, Brzgalov, Leclerc, scratches. OEL got scratched? Come on, guys. Come on. Why are you scratching Oliver Ekman-Larsson? Pittsburgh. Crosby, Malkin. Crosby's playing left wing instead of Malkin. It's kind of strange, because Crosby doesn't have a secondary position. Malkin does. But they're playing with Justin Williams. Second line has Tyler Kennedy, Jordan Staal, Ruslan Fedotenko, Kunitz, Talbot, Testu. Pretty much a normal Pittsburgh team except for a couple additions. Defensively, Goligoski, Letang, Leopold, Mihalik. Gonchar is back in Pittsburgh again. Was he already there? Yeah, he was. He just re-signed, I guess, there. Shane Knighty. And then goalies, Fleury and Johnson. Scratches Vitali and Lovejoy. Alright. San Jose, who we took on last year in the playoffs, pretty much look the exact same as when we played them, except for Ryan White's now on their 4th line. Defensively, Brian McCabe's there now. And in goalies, Nabokov and Grice, not the best tandem anymore. Nabokov's dropped down to an 81 backup. He was an 87 when we played them last year. What the hell? Some of these guys are dropping off really hard. St. Louis, Tyler Sagan's a top line center there. David Backes is still there, which is surprising. Because I guess he got a 3-year deal with no movement. So good that he's hanging around in St. Louis a little bit longer. Because it looked like he was going to sign somewhere else. Defensively, Rob Blake's there now. Eric Johnson on the 3rd pairing. This is interesting, these lines. I'll say it at that. Tampa, looks like a Tampa team with Robert Lang, basically. Keith Tkachuk there now, too. Not the best depth there in Tampa. Defensively, Volchenkov and Hedman is the top pairing. Goalies, Smith and Josh Harding. Scratches, Jones and Schneider. Toronto, who should be still bad. Kuhlman, Connolly, and Kessel. They did sign Connolly, like I said, to that big contract. It's kind of crazy that he got that much. Taylor Hall with Bozak and Armstrong's not a bad second line. They've actually made some okay additions, like Adam Henrique's is already up to an 83. Kadri's now playing. So the Leafs are actually rebuilding pretty good so far. I think Caberlet's in the last year of his contract soon. No, I don't know. Never mind, he re-signed there. Goddamn. Goalies, Craig Anderson, James Reimer. That's just disgusting, seeing Craig Anderson as the Leaf. Vancouver, the Sedins and Kessler. Pretty much a Vancouver team that you normally see. Craig Conroy there, though. Victor Kozlov. All right. Giordano there is kind of strange. Tim Gleason. Yeah, some of these teams are strange. Tootin got scratched. God damn. Tootin's 28 years old, and he started off as a good overall, too, but he dropped off a lot, too. Kind of strange. And then Washington. Washington looks cracked on that top line, as they normally do. I don't know if they're a team that could win 3 straight to start this franchise mode. They don't really have the craziest depth in their lineup, but that top line's filthy. Defensively, they're really solid. Yeah, defensively they're good. Goaltending, Holtby has made the NHL, which is kind of crazy because he wasn't there last year, right? Yeah, he's been in the AHL the last 2 years when they've won Stanley Cup, so he could easily help them win another. But Varlamov is signed for 3 years, so I wonder if they're going to flip away one of those goalies and Jeff Taff is a scratch. Interesting teams, to say the least, going into the 2011-12 season. But anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this episode of our Edmonton Oilers Throwback 2010 franchise mode. So in next episode, we'll start up the 2011-12 season. We hopefully will begin off the season on a really bad note, hopefully losing a bunch of games. So that way we have a higher chance of getting a good draft pick this year, because obviously we have some good pieces right now. But getting some elite draft picks over these next couple years would help us a lot in terms of turning this team into a good young team that could potentially win some Stanley Cups as well. Say anything down below, and I'll see you guys next time.